Welcome to Dairy Pod, a podcast series from Dairy Australia. Featuring a range of experts, each episode offers insights into Australia's unique dairy farming conditions, as well as personal experiences and the latest in dairy innovation.
So welcome to Dairy Pod. My name is Rebecca Joyce. I am the Sustainability Implementation Lead at Dairy Australia. And today I'm joined by Simone Jolliffe, a dairy farmer from New South Wales and a Dairy Australia board member, to talk about the Australian Dairy Sustainability Framework and our most recent scorecard. So thank you for joining me today, Simone. Before we get started, do you mind telling me a little bit about yourself and your background in the dairy industry?
Thanks, Rebecca. So a little bit about myself. I came to dairy farming when I married a dairy farmer, and we started out as share farmers for his family, and in 2008 bought the farm in our own right and have been here ever since. We are located on the Murrumbidgee River just outside Wagga Wagga in southern New South Wales, and we've done a few different things since we've had the farm, but we started out as a pasture-based operation, and in recent years we have actually moved to a TMR and a housed system for our milking herd. Capacity to milk about 400 in the facility, currently still in our growth phase and milking about 330 at the moment. I've done a few other things in industry, including I currently sit on the Sustainability Steering Committee as a member. I chair the Goal 7 Animal Care Working Group, but I've also previously been a director of Australian Dairy Farmers and the Australian Dairy Industry Council, so I've actually been engaged in one way or another with the framework for over a decade.
That's so great. Thank you so much for having you on the podcast, Simone. So let's start by explaining a little bit about what we mean when we say sustainability.
Yeah, thanks. Sustainability is really about meeting our needs today, but not compromising those and the ability of future generations to meet their needs. It's about doing what's right for our farm in the long term. Meeting our needs today means we need to be profitable. It needs to work for us and our family. While at the same time we're taking care of our animals, we're looking after the environment, and importantly, we're improving and looking after the wellbeing of the people that work for us, that work with us and around us, and also those people that we're actually producing dairy products for. The other thing about sustainability is it's about setting ourselves up for the future in the sense of getting ahead of potential regulation and community concerns. So making sure we're working to solve issues proactively together as an industry.
And the Australian dairy industry has been a leader in sustainability for over a decade. So can you talk through what the dairy industry as a whole is committed to within sustainability?
So the Australian dairy industry, as you said, has had a commitment to sustainability for in excess of 10 years, and it's captured in a framework. And that framework sets out 11 goals, and their goals that we've agreed to as an industry are important to work towards, and they're there to ensure that we have a sustainable industry for the future. The framework has industry-wide ownership, and how that works is it's owned by the Australian Dairy Industry Council, which is our peak national representative body for our industry, including both farmers and milk processor representatives. And the Industry Council, or the ADIC that I mentioned before, I've been involved in previously, governs the framework and the ongoing commitment to sustainability. And we work together as a steering committee with them to ensure that we're constantly involving and looking ahead at risks and opportunity for our industry. And then that sustainability framework adapts to build in new topics. We adjust our goals, in particular as new solutions emerge. Importantly, a really critical part is that we actually are reporting against our goals, so that we as an industry, one, hold ourselves accountable, so that we can demonstrate to the community, government and stakeholders the progress that we're making.
Awesome. So let's dig into a little bit more detail. So what are some of the priority topics and goals that you mentioned within the framework?
Yeah, so the goals are grouped into 4 main commitment areas, and each of these commitment areas play an important role in the sustainability of our Australian dairy industry. So the first commitment is enhancing economic viability and livelihoods. So we talk about creating a vibrant industry that rewards dairy workers and families, their related communities, businesses, and investors. And how that actually looks is we have targets around documented work health and safety plans because we recognise that the ag industry has a high injury rate, and we want a really positive culture around dairy that demonstrates our commitment to on-farm safety. And under this commitment, we also talk about farm profitability and setting targets to drive the industry forward. Our second commitment area is around improving wellbeing for people. So this is about providing nutritious, safe, quality dairy food. And then how this looks is it's very much about the nutritional benefits and measuring the nutritional benefits for consumers, and equally the high standards of food safety that we all pride ourselves on as producers. Our third commitment is providing the best care for all of our animals. This is where we are striving for the health, the welfare, and the best care for all of our animals throughout their lives. What this looks like in practice is we're moving towards implementing the Calfways 2030 program, where we will have viable pathways for all calves. And we also cover off on antimicrobial stewardship under this commitment, and that's about the responsible use of antibiotics, so as little as possible and as much as necessary. Lastly, our fourth commitment is reducing environmental impact. And so this is where we're meeting the challenge of climate change and providing good stewardship of our natural resources. So this looks like protecting our waterways and reducing greenhouse gas emissions intensity across the industry.
There's a lot within each of these commitments. So how are we progressing with our goals, and what are some of the highlights from the most recent scorecard?
There have been some really positive results in the latest report that show we're making progress against our goals. And there are also areas that we still have work to do, and some gaps in the data that we need to fill. Data captured in the latest Sustainability Scorecard shows that the percentage of dairy employees retained within the dairy industry year on year have actually risen to 78% in 2024. It also shows that the number of farmers reporting difficulty in sourcing suitable applicants has fallen from 70% back in 2020 to 48% in 2024. Another thing that the recent scorecard showed is that the total value of payments made to dairy farmers in Australia rose to $6.2 billion in the financial year 2023-2024. Trust is something that we measure and report against in the scorecard, and that rose across several measures, including that 75% of respondents recognise that dairy farmers do a good job when we're caring for our animals. 89% of the respondents recognise that the dairy industry produces high-quality products, and the fact that dairy foods play an important role in a healthy, well-balanced diet was recognised by 83% of respondents. One thing to note, though, is that much of the data that helps us track our progress is actually coming directly from our farmer surveys. So something that's really important, and I know I do it if I take a call, is when I get the call asking me to participate, then I make the time, even if it means they have to call me back. And so I ask the other farmers, when you get that call, you're actually helping to build our community trust for dairy by adding to the bigger picture of how we're tracking as a whole industry.
That's some awesome progress for the industry in the 2024 scorecard. So what can we expect from the ADSF in 2025?
So if we look back to what we did in 2024, we actually completed some really big pieces, including a double materiality review and an operational review. And we did these to understand where our sustainability focus needs to evolve and what are the challenges, the opportunities, and the emerging issues, while highlighting possible solutions and areas for collaboration. So what that means for 2025 is that our sustainability commitment will be looking to improve our engagement with farmers and industry, to then review the goals and targets and continue to evolve to respond to the changes that we're seeing around the world, and to ensure that the framework continues to serve the industry. We'll also be looking to close some of those gaps in the data that I mentioned earlier, and we'll continue to survey farmers. The focus for 2025 is getting up-to-date data on animal husbandry.
And for those interested in sustainability, the framework, and implementing sustainable practice on their farm, what are some steps that they could take? How can other farmers be involved?
Yeah, so they can learn more by chatting to their local Dairy Australia team. They can visit the Dairy Australia website, where they can access more information about the framework, including the 2024 scorecard can be viewed there. But from a practical on-farm, Dairy Australia offers different resources and programs, such as your Know Your Carbon Number, Our Farm, Our Plan, or you can reach out to your regional extension officer, or if you have a farm engagement lead, and they can help you identify areas that you'll gain the most benefit from, and what programs will support you and your business to take you forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Simone. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you for joining today's Dairy Pod episode. We hope you found it enjoyable and insightful. For more information, check out the episode notes. You can stay up to date by following Dairy Pod on your favourite podcast platform. To get in touch, visit dairyaustralia.com.au. Until next time, take care.